especially in the final expense market, people have been through a tough time. They've had a difficult life. They've had hardships, and they're trying to find a way to protect their family so they're not struggling anymore. If they're going to trust you to put a plan in place, they want to understand that you understand. Welcome back to another episode of the Life Insurance Academy podcast. Today, I'm your host, Zach McElwain, and I got Chris Beasy, Chris B-A-W-L with me today. How you doing, Chris?
Good. I didn't know there was a W in my name, but
it's a W-L. That's what
I
it
like
is.
it. Ball.
There you
I
go.
like that.
There
Yes,
you go.
It's good to be here.
So, Chris, I wanted to tell you this topic I'm really excited about. I think this is going to help a ton of brand new agents, a ton of agents that have been in the field with a moderate experience, and it will actually be a reminder to look back on some of the agents that have been in the field for a long time, but they're struggling and they don't know why. I recently did a live coaching session on Life Insurance Academy coaching sessions, which was really cool. This one was a little bit different, and the same thing kept coming up. And it is like, wow, Chris, we need to do a podcast on this. And it's simple. And it's going through, and it's all about agents skipping steps.
Okay.
Now,
I'm with you.
When we talk about these steps that they're skipping, this doesn't mean that they're necessarily intentionally skipping over steps of the life insurance sales process. A lot of it is possibly they weren't taught. They were brought into this with a different expectation. They didn't know the steps existed, or they knew they existed and they think they're doing them, but they're actually not.
Yeah.
And I will tell you a fact. If you're a new agent and you're listening to this podcast and you're skipping these steps, it is costing you sales right now.
Absolutely.
You probably starting to think of, you know what I'm thinking about, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of times how you start determines these steps. There are some organizations that have different thought processes and beliefs, and it can affect your future trajectory because their launching point doesn't have these steps in mind.
Exactly. Well, let me give you and the listener some context of how this topic came evolved. So typically when a lot of new people are attracted to this amazing industry, just like me and you, right? Just like how we got into this, we're excited for the life that we're able to create for ourselves. We're excited to be able to have a limitless opportunity without somebody holding us back or waiting for somebody to retire, or we've been working our tail off and not getting paid what we're worth and we're valued. That's the one most attractive thing about this industry. Now, the new age, this wasn't necessarily when we came aboard, but this new social media age, TikTok and Facebook videos and Reels, it's been a huge boost for the industry as a whole to bring people in. And the whole excitement is to be able to change your life financially. But the cool thing is we can do it by actually helping families.
Yes.
And doing good and actually changing their lives and generations to come at the same time. So it sounds like an obvious win-win. A part of this is the one thing that gets missed, and this is a part of the skipping process, is agents are brought into this opportunity. Okay, we serve families, we make commissions, we change our families' lives. So they're brought into this new opportunity. Their goal is to make sales. I recently asked on one of our training sessions, when you're buying a lead or running a lead of any sort, what is your number one goal? It was an astonishing across multiple people to get a sale. Why do you think that is?
I think you mentioned it. I mean, I think part of it is the way the opportunity is marketed in this social age. People are celebrating and living the lifestyle that they want at the top end of this, and they're marketing that. There's a lot of numbers being shown, and it puts, like I said, the trajectory from the start, the focus on the wrong thing.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think it's wrong.
No.
But they're missing the journey to get to the sale.
Right. That part, if it's not communicated on the front side, is the mistake. Like you can show those things. That's fine.
Yes.
You can recruit to that because it's real. Like you can have a huge team that's performing at that level, but if they think it happens overnight or they believe that it happens just to get the sale, then you won't do it. You won't make it that way.
So here's the gap. And I think this is where a lot of agents move into this industry and they get frustrated, right? They have the work ethic, they have the drive, they have the desire, they learn the product, they understand the concept of, okay, it's final expense or it's mortgage protection. We have a family that doesn't have the coverage, or maybe they do, but they're paying too much, or it's the wrong type of coverage for them. We come in, we say, hey, how you doing? We're here to help you. We help them get a better plan. We get the sale. It seems simple. The frustration and the gap comes in is when they actually get out there, they run a lead, they dial that lead, and it's not happening at the rate they were expecting, and they don't know why. And they're focused on, I'm trying to get an app, or I'm trying to get 5 apps or 10 apps, or I'm trying to get up the leaderboard, or I'm trying to hit this achievement, or I'm trying to make this incentive trip from a carrier. I'm trying to get to these results, and I'm frustrated because I'm not getting the results and I don't know why. So that's what I want to talk and pick your brain with today. Okay.
Yeah.
And these steps, and it's all about understanding those expectations internally and getting your mind right on what you're trying to accomplish. I heard you say this on a training a couple weeks ago. And I believe you asked the same question. You're like, what's the goal? What is your number one goal when you're trying to run a lead?
Yeah. So for what I recommend is to get the sale. I'm just kidding.
Golly.
I'm joking.
Adam, can we get somebody else in here, please?
No. Is to get the set.
Get the set.
Or get in the door or stay on the phone. That's the number one thing. Like if you're getting somebody on the call, you want to keep them on the phone so you can move to the next thing. Or you're at the door to be able to sit down with them on the porch or at least inside so you can begin the process. But I think agents do many times feel like it's to get the sale at the very beginning of that process.
How important is it to segment that? Like when you say your number one goal is to get the sit. Yeah, you're like, yeah, well, I do need to sit with them. Well, I'm already calling them this and that.
What do you think I'm trying to do? Right? I mean, that's kind of what they're thinking.
Exactly.
The agent is thinking. But I will give you the evidence of it not happening, okay?
Perfect.
They answer the door. They say they already have something. We already took care of this. Okay, what coverage do you have?
Oh, boom.
Yeah. Right? Or on the phone, what coverage do you have?
There's agents right now saying, what's wrong with that?
Yeah. How much are you paying? We specialize in finding more affordable options for people. Like that to me sounds like selling.
Well, it is.
Yeah. So you might be thinking, yeah, I'm trying to get the sit by doing that, but you're not. You sound like a salesperson. Like you sound like that person in the mall who is saying, "Hey, is your shoes untied?" I don't know if you've seen those people, but then they stop you and they're trying to sell you something in the mall, at
Exactly.
those kiosks.
Exactly. And I think you always believe you get what you focus on.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're solely focused on, only thing is focused on is getting this sit / doing a presentation or having the opportunity to do a presentation with a family, you're going to do anything and everything you can. You're going to be focused on, did I speak too fast? Did I have the right pace? Did I say the right words? Did I present myself in a nice way? How did the phone call go? Like I'm going to continue to master. The only thing I care about in this entire world is to get the sit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once that's accomplished and we have done that, we have the sit, I'm again not going to try to jump in to say, okay, now this is life insurance, Mr. Chris. I got to show you a couple things of how we're able to help families. I don't want to do that, right?
Right.
So my next goal and the very next thing, so I'm segmenting this result that everybody wants is to get this app. I'm segmenting it. Now, the only thing in the world that matters is to get the sit. Now we've accomplished that. Now the only thing in the world that matters is our second point here, and is to build a relationship.
Would you
And
say just to clarify, because there's so many different personalities and the way people hear things.
mhm.
Um, when you say build a relationship, is it build a connection or is it build a relationship or is it both? Because you'll have some people who say, "Oh man, I'm great at building relationships. I sat with Mrs. Jones for 4 hours."
Yes.
And then you'll have like other personalities who are saying, uh, "This sounds really like I'm not really into that. That's not how I've sold in the past." You see what I'm saying? Like, what is that? Is it build a connection, build a relationship, or both?
In my opinion, it's both.
Okay,
Because you want that relationship to where if they need something, they will call you. They trust you.
that's good.
And
Hmm.
when you have that trust in that form, we eventually want to build it in the form of a relationship, as a form of a friendly neighbor, as a form of a family member of some sort, right? Like
Hmm.
somebody comfortable that you could sit down at the dinner table with them. The whole point is we want them to know that you're a real person and that you care
That's
and you
good.
have feelings.
Hmm.
You want to separate yourself in that moment, in that conversation, other than the insurance man or the insurance woman,
Hmm.
right? You have to separate yourself from that. And you can do that by having a conversation with somebody, building that connection. Eventually, we want to have that trust built in the form of credibility and authority, right?
Yeah.
But that's going to come throughout,
Mhm.
okay? But I don't want to talk about um, insurance at this point. I want to be a real person. And that's what I mean by that. So my goal, once I have this sit, my goal is to not jump in to insurance. And I'll tell you guys this right now. If you're hesitant at this, if you're not intentional with your pacing, your timing of establishing that initial connection, you're going to get things like, okay, tell me what this is about, or what did I fill out again, or I don't remember doing that, or how much does this cost? Those are all indications that you haven't begun to build a relationship yet, and you're losing control, right? Like, so you actually have to work on this and perfect that of jumping in and taking control and initiating that relationship, but maintaining it. And I always say, build the relationship until it's easy, to where time, pressure goes out the window. Um, that's what I want to do before I'm able to move into my third segment. Again, I'm not focused on what price and what carrier, what company, what health conditions at this point. I just have a nice relationship.
So we have get this at build a relationship,
Mhm.
connection, relationship, and then 3, write the application.
Not quite, Chris. You're speedy, man.
Man,
You're
I'm gonna get to it. Let's go.
you're speedy. You're speedy. The problem with that, and this is where a lot of agents think they can build a relationship, jump right into basically the application to see what they need. Um, this is where they get a lot of objections. And this is where they get a higher chargeback rate and a
Yeah.
lower persistency
Mhm.
rate, and a lower placement rate, all comes from just what you said there, right?
Yeah.
This next step is extremely important.
Well, I would guess they don't understand the stakes. They don't understand what matters,
No,
and they're just selling a product.
correct.
Mhm.
Correct. And so the next one is really, like you said, understanding their situation. This is step 3. So we have the sit, we have the relationship. Now we want to understand their situation. Okay. This is almost that slight discovery with relationship, with a little emotion, figuring out what they have, what they need. This is kind of communicating what's at stake. So when you hear the word understand their situation, understand is a very powerful word. And you say a quote all the time. I forget who quotes it, but you say, is it listen or say it? And I know you know what I'm talking about.
This is an awkward part of the podcast
No,
because I have a
this
lot
is
of
real.
quotes.
But it's
Seek first to understand before being understood.
there
That's
you go.
actually from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Yeah.
There you go.
Mhm.
Exactly. And you can only do that if you listen.
Yeah.
You can only do that if you ask questions. And guess what happens when you listen and ask questions? People know that you care.
Yeah.
That
That's what people want. They want to be understood.
they want to be heard.
Mhm.
They want things to be unique to them, right?
hmm
Like understanding their situation. How can we ever going to a home as an agent and predetermine before you knock on the door that I'm going to sell them this carrier for $10,000 in coverage? Everybody in this whole world needs $10,000 in coverage, or whatever the case may be. You're trying to pre-sell a cookie cutter plan. It
Right.
doesn't work that way. They want to be heard, and even if they do end up needing the 10,000, right? Just taking the time to listen. It's a perfect example, and you said it on our last podcast, and it really stood out that you've done trainings with people that have literally asked for your advice. They talked the entire time and they said, "Thank you, Chris. Now I know exactly what I need to do."
Yeah. Sometimes it's a good thing. A lot of times it's not.
Right. Sometimes people want to be heard and they
Right,
want to
correct.
be understood
Mhm.
and they want you to see their situation, because especially in the final expense market, people have been through a tough time. They've had a difficult life. They've had hardships, and they're trying to find a way to protect their family so they're not struggling anymore.
Yeah.
And they want, if they're going to trust you to put a plan in place, they want to understand that you understand.
hmm
And I think that's very
I
important.
think a lot of agents, Zach, make the mistake of what you said. They'll see on their, even on their lead card, if they're working the direct mail lead, it says get a certain amount of coverage, 25,000, 35,000 to cover final expenses. Especially new agents, they look at that word final expenses, they're thinking burial or cremation
Mhm.
and not looking at the scope of the need, because really a good agent customizes
You want to give them a tip?
to the agent. Yeah, go for it. This is how much is this one? $19.99.
You get to
Boom.
charge. The money goes to your stripe.
$19.99.
The reason they say final expenses because every expense associated with somebody passing away. That's more than burial. That's more than arrangements, flowers, vault. That's more than the engraving. That's anything and everything when somebody passes away. That could also include um, moving fees, right? It can include people traveling to and
Yep.
from a funeral from family members if they're out of town.
That's
It could be debts. It could be a big one, loss of household income when one of them passes away and the other one's still living.
right.
There's a number of factors that associated any financial change when somebody passes away. There's a reason we don't call it, state regulated casket insurance
Right.
or cremation insurance, right? If you do, you're pigeonholing on the understanding the full need of that.
That's a good tip. Good stuff. So we understand the situation now.
Yep. So we understand their situation. Now we're going to move into our number 4. This is going to be our step 4 here. And it's simply to educate them. And I know we've said this in the podcast 100 times, and we'll probably say it 100 more, but everybody wants to buy, but nobody wants to be sold. What's the main reason why somebody isn't buying from us, or buying, period? Because if they all want to buy it on their own, but they don't want it because they don't want to be sold, why are they not buying it on their own? Because they don't understand how the products work. They're not confident on which policy, what company they need, or what benefits they need.
Yeah.
And they don't know where to go to get that information. That's the process. That's the gap that we fill as agents. It's right there. It's hidden. But when you think about it, that's exactly where it's at. So what do we need to do? We need to show them the plan that's going to fit them the best. We need to educate them on how it works so they're confident so they can make their own decision. But they can't make their own decision, or they would never even listen to us if they didn't trust us. Do you see how this is working
Yeah.
backwards?
Mm-hmm.
So then it backs up. They can't trust us if we can't get into the home and actually allow ourselves and them an opportunity to form a relationship. So it's backwards of how this entire thing works.
You know, it's funny because the education part, Zach, is so key. It's not just educating them on the products, because that was the mistake I was making on the front side. It's educating them on their own situations, their own
Bingo.
life, all that stuff, their own biases in some cases. You know, there was a kid in my neighborhood selling something, And he was on this two-wheeler. I don't even know what you call it, whatever you call it.
We call those bikes.
No, it's not. That's a good one.
Chris has never got on training wheels, guys.
A bike. I don't know how you Americans say. No, it was a peep. Those electronic things you lean forward, whatever it is. He's scooting around the neighborhood, and I don't know what he's selling. I'm guessing solar because that's the high tech. I don't know. And we were leaving, and I was like, man, that kid comes to my door. I'm going to say, hey, keep moving, George Jetson. You don't even know that reference, but
the Jetsons.
Yeah. But I have a preconceived idea. I have a bias about what I see and how people present themselves, and so do they. They do too.
Yeah.
So part of it's educating them on who you are, your opportunity, their life, the things they don't even know to be concerned about.
That's very good. And here's a point that I want to make when it comes to step 4 and educating them. This does not mean telling them the policy they need to get or pigeonholing them saying, this is the coverage that you want. This is the coverage we're going to get you today. This is not a closing.
Right.
This is an education of all the different products and plans available, more in a general education of whole life, term life, accidental life, IULs, maybe annuities. It's giving them a rundown of how insurance works and what's the difference between them. Because when you look back at step 3 and we're talking about understanding their situation, we know there's a need in this home. We know there's a need in their heart. There's a vulnerability that they want to take care of. We've listened and we've heard it. They know it as well. Again, everybody buys and nobody wants to be sold. So they need that education. They need the confidence to pick the right plan. When you're teaching them about the different ones, you're giving them the last piece they need to make their own decision. You can't push it on them. You can't tell them what it is. That's way too early. You put that there in their mind. They may tell it to you, but in their mind, they're making their decision right now.
Yeah.
And then when we move to step 5, these all build on themselves. When you move to step 5, and step 5 is going to be reinforce their emotional need. Again, this is communicating those stakes that we talked about. What would happen with or without this coverage? Who would benefit with this coverage, and what would happen to that person without this coverage? You're reinforcing that emotional need. What that does is it confirms to them that their decision that they're already thinking about based upon the information we've provided, that they're committing to it. In their mind, they're already committing to their own policy. They are choosing to buy and not being sold because we gave them everything we need. We're just asking those questions.
That's good.
And then I love this number 6, okay? Because this number 6 is really cool. It's formulate their custom plan. Everybody wants something that fits them perfect. We all have different size shoes. We all wear different clothes. Look at people's styles, right? Some people wear those belt bags. Some people wear boot jeans. There's so many different styles, and it's really cool because like we're humans. Like we like different things.
You said, were you talking about the man purse?
Yeah.
Some people do. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they do. So when you're talking about this custom plan, everybody wants something unique that fits them perfectly, fits their life. It's everything they wanted. The perfect car for their family, the perfect home that for their kids, the perfect vacation of what they like to do on vacation. And when you can formulate a custom plan, and when you recommend this plan to them, the magic is you're now the second validation. And what I mean by that, you're recommending a plan because you have credibility and you have the trust. You have the trust in the relationship because they like you from the beginning. You have trust in the form of credibility because you're the one that taught them that education. Now you're recommending a plan that they've already decided that they wanted to buy.
Yeah.
So, and the reality is you're not selling them anything. You're the second person because they confirmed it to themselves. And now you're the expert and you're agreeing with their own decision. The policy closes itself.
That's good.
And then the next thing, really the only thing we have to do at this point is step 7 is to get them qualified.
Let me back up just a second here. On the 6th step, because agents are hearing formulate a plan or a custom plan. That's a new idea to them sometimes, but I really like that idea of customization, especially in the final expense market. A lot of people don't receive that type of service. This is like
Mhm.
a white glove service
Yes.
for these clients. Now, as a new agent, you might be thinking like, "Oh, well, what do I nobody ever mentioned that to me before." We'll make it super simple for you, okay? How to formulate the plan. Their need plus their current age, their current health, and their affordability.
Exactly.
That's the formula to determine their custom plan.
Mhm.
So if you're freaking out and that's a new phrase to you, don't get freaked out. It's
And
simple.
all you have to do to make sure this is a custom fit is to understand their situation, listen, and ask questions.
Right.
It's really that simple. Nobody wants a cookie cutter, right? Nobody wants, there's a reason we all drive different cars, right? We want something special to us that fits us perfectly.
Yeah.
Like if we all could, we would customize everything in our life to be exactly the way we want it. Sometimes you buy stuff that's generic, it doesn't fit everybody the same.
Right.
And they don't feel special, they don't feel comfortable, it doesn't make them happy. So when you can formulate that custom plan for them, it changes everything. So when you think about it, we talk about these steps that agents skip. And a lot of them, again, they skip them because they're not aware of them or the importance of them.
Yeah.
What we're doing as agents to serve this market is pretty simple. All we're doing is giving them a custom plan to protect their family, and we're assisting them in getting qualified. Now, in order to do that, we have to educate them so they're able to make the decision on their own plan. So we have to be able to educate them so they're confident in what they're picking for their family, or they won't do it. They'll know they'll need it, and they'll look on the internet, they'll fill out cards, but they'll never do it. So we have to be able to educate them. In order to educate them, they have to trust us to understand their situation, which means we have to love on them a little bit.
Mhm.
We have to care for them. We have to ask their family dynamics. What's going on? How do they want this to protect their family? Why it's important to them? What would happen without it? We have to understand them. In order to understand them, we have to be able to build that relationship. Again, we can't build the relationship if we're not sitting down with them,
Yeah.
right? We can't sit down with them if we don't have some sort of marketing strategy or lead to be able to go knock.
Correct.
And we talked about on a previous episode, have the activity to do the work.
Yeah.
So it's really simple. Everybody, all the new agents, everybody wants to come in. Their number one goal is to make a sale. Perfect. Let's get them a custom plan and sign them up, Chris.
Sounds great. And just for the listeners, I didn't know you could do this, but I want you to go ahead and do it. Go through all those steps, saying them backwards.
You want me to do it now?
Just kidding. I'm joking. But one thing I like about this custom plan these steps that you had outlined, there's not one word about selling.
No.
I think it's important that our agents, our folks, our team, our
I believe
posse,
people
hear that.
Selling is a result.
Mhm.
It's a result of what? This is the what.
Correct.
And when you always want a result but don't know how to get it, that's where frustration comes in. That's where stagnant comes in. That's where people fall out of the business because they wait too long when they don't know what to do. They get frozen. I want this result. Other people are getting the result. I don't know how to get the result. This is how you get the result. When you do it the right way and you focus on, and again, it goes back to our reference about golf, okay? There may be one of these areas. You may be the best person in the world at formulating a custom plan. You may have spent 7 months of your insurance career before you ever ran one lead. You may have spent 7 months studying every insurance carrier, every company. You know the underwriting inside and out. But if you can't get into a home, you
Get him to stay on the phone.
You can't get them to stay on the phone. You can't do any of that. Or you could be so good at educating somebody and you have a great way of doing a presentation and you have the number one script in the world, right? But if you can't simply build a relationship where somebody trusts you, it doesn't matter how good you are at teaching or how much you know. If they don't trust the words that are coming out of your mouth, it's no good.
That's good. Yeah.
So understand these steps. If you don't have them, use these and master each of them one at a time. And I promise you will be living the life you want to live,
You'll be wearing a man purse.
you could possibly be doing that. You could probably have success without doing that as well. I'll leave that up
It's
to
not
you.
a measure of success.
There you go. It's not a measure of success, but use these, formulate them, follow them, master them. You will have the result you want.
All right. Just to sum it up, these are the steps for new agents, and actually all agents, but new agents specifically on this episode. Get the sit, build a relationship, understand the situation, educate your client, reinforce the need, formulate a plan, qualify. Boom. That's it. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Life Insurance Academy podcast. We do have additional resources, coaching, training, all the goods. That flip chart that's based off these principles. Are you kidding me, Zach? We have all that stuff at lifeinsuranceacademy.org. And if you're watching this and you're thinking about becoming a new agent, we have resources for you to be able to do that as well for your pre-licensing. We have a special relationship with excelsolutions.com. So if you need a discount, we can hook you up. We'll catch you on the next episode of the Life Insurance Academy podcast. See you then.